Good morning and welcome to this morning's class. We're going to work a little bit on hip openers today. So I want you to come to, I'm going to try and make it as restorative as possible. So no massive flows today, just working on some seated holds so that we can work into the hips and release some of that tension and some of those things that just no longer serve us so that we can move forward with joy and happiness. So come to a comfortable seated space, and we're taking Sukhasana, so just easy seated pose where the ankles are crossed in front of each other. And the knees are about here. Well, they're going to be sitting above the hips, but we don't want to be sitting on a block at this point in time. We just want to be relaxing here, bringing the hands onto the knees, resting the chin down towards the chest, and maybe even closing down the eyes for just a moment. Taking some deep inhale and exhales. Maybe extending the inhale and slightly extending the exhale. You can use some counts with that. Inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4. We want to feel quite grounded and connected. So the sit bones firmly connected to the mat and to the earth, and feeling that sensation of grounding and settling down into the space while we continue to connect in with the breath. So maybe even leaning the upper body back ever so slightly, and you'll be able to feel the sit bones connect in with the earth. Draw the shoulders down the back and lift the crown of the head towards the sky. Just keeping that breathing going, the inhale and the exhale. Just bringing your hands in front of your heart space and setting your intention for class today. Letting go of what no longer serves us so that we can move forward with joy and happiness. So see now, even if you're sitting in this space, if you're holding any tension in the hips, if you're holding, the knees may have lifted, and as you draw the chest up and forward, you might feel them be able to drop down, and as you sit the sit bones back a little deeper, you might actually feel the knees lift. So just see if you can acknowledge any tension there, and as you take a deep inhale, see if you can let the knees settle back down again. Just let go of some of that tension, anything that you might be holding on to. And again, just mentioning that intention to yourselves. Letting go of anything that no longer serves us to move forward with joy and happiness. So we're just going to take 2 or 3 more rounds of breath here. And we're really slowing down our practice right now. Settling into the space, feeling that grounded connection to the earth. And we're going to keep that grounded connection right through this practice. So bringing the hands down by the side body, and we're just going to extend the left leg out in front. And we're going to take the right leg over the top. We're just going to move the left leg slightly to the side here. And this is half shoelace. So full shoelace, we'd bring this foot down to the side of the hip here. This half shoelace, we're just going to take, and we're going to use the hands. Feel the hips push out towards the back. So you're feeling that tilt at the pelvis. And then I want you to draw the body down towards the knee, trying to keep that back nice and long. Using the hands here to press into the floor and give you a little bit more extension through the spine. So as you inhale, find some length. And as you exhale, see if you can surrender the chest down towards the leg. So notice here I'm flexing my foot back. So I'm pulling the toes back towards the face. I'm extending through the back body, and my hips, both hips, are remaining connected to the earth. So we really want to feel that right hip pressing into the ground and that left hip and all the way down through the hamstring and the calf and the heel connected with the earth. And so we're going to take 3 or 4 more rounds of breath here. Inhale, finding some length in the spine, and then as you exhale, surrendering down to the leg, maybe even tucking the chin and bringing the forehead down towards that shin or towards the knee, and you can extend the hands out a little bit further Taking another round of breath here. Inhale. Exhale and surrender. One more round of breath. And wherever you are, just stay here. Just take 2 more rounds of breath in this final space. Acknowledging any places of tension and seeing if you can let that go. Inhale, walking the hands back towards the hips, extending that right leg out the front and bringing the left leg over the top. I'm going to repeat that on the other side. So we've got this left knife edge of the foot pressing into the mat here. I'm not overly fussed whether this foot is flexed or pointed. That's completely up to you. But we are going to move this right foot just over to the right side just a little bit. Try and keep the sit bones or the hips connected and grounded down into the earth, flexing through that front right leg. And the knees should be roughly stacking, well, they should be stacking over the top of each other, and that's going to tell you whether your hips are squared off. Taking the hands to either side of the knees, take an inhale breath, lift up and out of the waist. And as you exhale, start to walk the hands forward. And again, we're hinging forward from the hips, so I'm trying to keep both of my hips connected down to the earth here. Lengthening through the spine. Inhale for length and exhale, bringing the body down towards the leg. And we're going to stay here for a couple of rounds of breath. So the hips, I know we've talked about this before, but they hold a lot of tension. And if we go back to our Louise Hay and some of the and her writings and learnings on this subject matter, and we look at why we're holding tension here, or why we have issues or tightness in our hips. The general consensus is that it's a fear of moving forward, fear of relationships and intimacy. So that could be relationships with the opposite sex, it could be relationships with friends and family, and sexual relationships, or just even your relationship with yourself. So that's why it's really important to work into this space. And sometimes when we're here, we just have to learn to sit with the pain, or not if it's sharp pain, but we need to sit with the discomfort and work through it and let go of some of that stuff. And we're going to work through a little bit of that today. So inhale, take another breath, lengthen through the back body, hinge forward from the hips, and see if you can draw the body down. And holding this space just for another 2 rounds of breath. You can always feel free to add a couple of counts to those inhales and exhales as you're feeling that lengthening through the body. Gently walking the hands back towards the hips. Taking the left foot out to meet the right, giving the legs a little bit of a gentle shake, and you might even roll from side to side, feeling the hips grounded and connected with the earth. So now we're going to bring our feet up to Baddha Konasana, so also called cobbler's pose. And we're going to walk the hips up towards the heels. Take my right hand and my left hand are stacked, so they're stacked over the top. So I'm not going underneath the feet here to pull the feet up, actually creating a little package for my toes, like creating little toe spring rolls. And I'm going to lift up through the spine, so I'm continuing to maintain that length. So as I inhale here, I'm going to press the knife edge of my foot into the earth. At the same time as I do that, I'm actually going to have this concept of grounding down into the earth and spreading the sit bones on the earth. So what happens when you do that is it creates a natural opening in the hips, and you'll actually be able to feel that external rotation of the hips and the knees drop down a little bit. Now, if you're looking in a mirror, you probably won't notice any great distinction, but once you start to isolate some of those movements, you'll actually feel the physical self open up through this process. And so this is why it's really important to connect the breath in here. So take your little palm grip here, wrap it around your toes, create your toe spring rolls. Inhale, lift, and we're doing this lift up through the body so that we're feeling that separation, the ribs away from the waist and the waist away from the hips, pressing the knife edge of the feet into the earth as we inhale, and feeling that sit bones spreading onto the earth. So a flattening of almost like you're pressing down and grounding the root chakra into the earth here. And as we do that, we lift up and we lift our chest forward, keeping our chin tucked ever so slightly, but definitely finding that length in the spine. And then feeling that opening happening through the legs. And we're going to take 3 more rounds here. So inhale, pressing the knife edge of the feet, drawing the knees down, spreading the sit bones and allowing that opening to occur. We're going to take 2 more rounds of breath. There's a beautiful breeze blowing here. Makes it a very lovely space in which to practice. Inhale, lengthen. Knife edge of the feet into the earth. Spread the sit bones, drop the knees. 1 more round. Inhale to lengthen. Press the knife edge, spread the sit bones and drop the knees. Now, if you have been working in this space, like I can definitely feel some opening happening there. And notice that I'm working with my own body here. I'm not actually applying any force to the knees here to open them up. I'm allowing the mechanics of the joint to work themselves, the mechanics of the muscles to work here. So using the hands, bring the knees back together, take the legs out in front, give them a little bit of a shake. We're just going to take a little counter. Now I'm going to swap over to the other side here and just take a little bit of a reverse tabletop. So my hands, palms planted on the floor and my feet planted on the floor, and I'm just going to lift my body and drop my head back and lift the hips, squeezing into the glutes, activating the glutes, pressing the feet into the earth, sitting down, and I'm coming back to center. So this time we're going to take we're actually going to take a variation of pigeon pose. So this can be quite a challenging pose, this one, if you are a little bit tight in the hips. So as you go through the process, I want you to think of something in your past that you've been holding on to. See if you can be present with whatever that is. And then see perhaps if you can let go of whatever that is. So we're going to take the right leg, bring it up onto the quadricep. So you can almost rest, as though I'm going to keep this foot quite flexed, the right foot. And it's almost as though it's forming a C around my knee here. And I've got that foot quite flexed. So then I'm grounding my sit bones down into the earth. So take both hands behind you, flex that left foot and lift up and out of the waist. But see if you can keep both of the hips connected down to the earth. So the challenge here is going to be to open that knee while keeping that hip to earth connection and pulling those toes back towards the face. So it's kind of like a figure 4. It's like a different variation, a different gravitational variation of our pigeon pose, where we would normally have this leg on the floor and this leg out behind us. Or we might take figure 4, or we could do this as a standing variation as well. The difference here is that you can really feel where the hips are squared off. So if you're not working in a mirror, if you're doing figure 4 and you're doing that standing, by the way, I'm still breathing here and I'm still pressing both of my hips into the earth and opening that right knee down to the floor. And you can actually apply a little pressure here, but just make sure that you're not lifting up and away and letting those hips release from the earth, that you're still maintaining that connection. So feeling the connection of the hamstring, the calf muscle and the heel, or you can draw the toes back towards the face here and press down. So moving forward from here, the second variation here is that you can take double pigeon. So I'm actually going to move back to the half variation. So this is also called fire log. So again, we're trying to maintain that foot flexed there. And notice that my ankles aren't crossed here. It's actually a full cross of the legs. So you can feel, and it's about sitting in this discomfort here. So if this isn't available to you, and for some people you might be really open in this space, but if you're not, this can be quite a challenging posture to sit with, please feel free to come back to that single leg variation We're still working through the process. You've just got to practice that acceptance of being where you are with your body right now. Take an inhale breath. I want you to, again, feel that hinging forward from the hips. Maintain that openness of the knee here, but see if you can just walk the body slightly forward. You may not get very far here, and that's perfectly okay. It's about being where you are, being present in this moment, and just sitting with that discomfort and working through that. So I'm just going to release that flexion in the foot. So I'm not hardcore flexing that foot anymore. I'm working a little bit more on the flexibility, and I'm really feeling this into my right hip, where my left hip is remaining grounded and connected to the earth. And I'm pulling forward. So I'm still trying to keep that length in the spine. So I'm just going to turn side on for you. So from here, both hips still connected to the earth, lifting and lengthening through the back body. And feeling that extension through the spine, lengthening through the back, finding that length. And we're going to take 3 more rounds of breath here. I'm just going to turn back to the front. You've got 2 more rounds of breath to go. Maintain that connection of the hips to the earth, whether your legs are double stacked or single stacked, that's totally up to you. But just sitting with some of that discomfort for just a moment. Inhale, walk the body back up, and you can release that right leg down to the earth. Give it a little bit of a shake. And then, lucky us, we get to repeat the whole thing on the left. So we're going to bring that left foot up and over the right leg. See if you can flex that left foot, opening up the heel, pressing that knee ever so slightly, lifting up, but maintaining that grounded connection of the hips down to the earth. And that can be the challenge here. You can give that knee a little bit of a press and just see if you can find, I can feel this opening in the groin already. And you can feel that external rotation of the hip and the lift up and out of the waist. Pressing that knee, giving yourselves a little bit of length here. Lifting up and out of the waist, seeing if you can keep that connection of both hips down to the earth. We're going to take 2 more rounds of breath. Inhale and exhale. Inhale and exhale. So for this next variation, you can bring that leg in and take the variation of fire log or that double stacking of the legs here. So still keeping that foot, the feet flexed and dropping down, feeling that length. So we still have the tilt in the pelvis, the grounding of the hip bones or the sit bones down to the earth, and the lifting of the chest and the lengthening through the back body. So this is quite a challenging posture. So we're just sitting in that space, sitting with that challenge. If you would like to keep the single leg variation, which I'm going to work with here today, you're more than welcome to do that. So keep the sit bones grounded down towards the earth. Take an inhale breath, take the hands forward and start to lengthen through the back body as you hinge forward from the hips. Breathe. Inhale, creating some space. Exhale, allowing the body to surrender. Maybe the chin comes down to the chest. Maybe you find that little bit of length in there and just sit with that challenge. So maybe you found that something that you've been holding on to, and if you're sitting here and connected in with the breath, thoughts will pop into your head, and so it could be the first or the second thing that comes into the mind, and if it sort of sticks or stays or it makes you feel a little bit of a, oh, what was that? Why did that come up? I want you to hold on to that for a moment and just sit with that emotion and then, or that feeling, that sensation, whatever that brings up for you, and just see if you can let go of that. And we're going to work with the breath, taking an inhale and an exhale and just letting go of whatever that might be. 1 more round of breath. Seeing if you can relax into that space. Not always easy. Walking back with the hands, taking that left foot out the front, giving the legs a little bit of a shake. Coming back to a variation of our Baddha Konasana, so our butterfly pose, and as we said before, sometimes known as cobbler's pose. So this variation, we're actually going to sit back into the hips. So before we were lifting up and away, and we're actually drawing the chest forward. So this variation, I've got the feet slightly forward of the knees. So this diamond shape that we've created here is a little bit larger. I'm actually sinking back into the hips. So before, where we were lengthening in the spine, I'm actually creating that kind of a curve here now. And as I move forward, taking an inhale breath, and as you exhale, just relaxing the head down to the feet. It's not very much fun when you get to look at the top of my head, is it? So you can just rest here, and you can even take the hands underneath the legs, take the palms up to the sky, and rest here, allowing the head to come down towards the feet. We're going to stay here for another 3 rounds of breath, just feeling that inhale and exhale. Inhale, creating a little bit of space. Exhale, allowing you to surrender. One more round of breath. Hands, palms back down to the floor, and you can bring the hands underneath the chest and walk the body back up. Knees back together, slide the legs out to the front. This time I'm going to take my legs, I'm actually going to do this side, well, I'll do it facing forward first. Coming down onto the tummy, and I'm going to come into Sphinx pose. So my elbows are underneath my shoulders, and my hands, palms pressing into the floor, forearms into the floor, and my feet are out behind me. And I'm just going to bring my right leg up to about hip height. I'm going to take a deep inhale breath, exhale, and just stay in this space for a moment. So what we want to do here is actually pull the body forward. So leave the hips where they are, grounded and connected to the earth. Press the elbows into the earth. Use the hands and the forearms to pull you forward. So you feel that separation of the ribs from the hips. Create a little core strength here, and then ground the hips back down into the earth. We're just going to stay here for another round of breath. 2 or 3 rounds of breath. Inhale and exhale. There seems to be a little bit of activity going on around me today, which makes teaching always interesting. I just want you to relax the entire body down to the earth. Take the arms out to the side and turn, I can't reach the way across the wall here, but keep that leg out to the side, arms shoulder height, right ear down to the earth, and look to the left. This posture is called Hug the Earth, and we're just going to stay here for 5 rounds of breath because it just feels so nice. Two more rounds of breath. One more round of breath. And bringing that right leg back down to meet the left. This time I'm just going to turn side on so that you can see this from another angle. Lying onto the earth. Elbows out in front. Elbows pressing into the earth. Hands, palms into the earth. And we're just going to bring that left leg forward. Flex the foot so that it's knee height. Press the hips into the earth and draw the body forward. Taking another few rounds of breath here. Inhale and exhale. Trying to draw the front of the hips back down to the earth. 2 more rounds of breath. And last round of breath. Drop the body down towards the earth. Take the arms out from the shoulders and turn the left ear down to the mat. So I want you to stay in that space for just a moment. Another 2 rounds of breath. And then we're going to press on up to our tabletop. And just take a few rounds of cat-cow just to loosen up through the hips. So drop the belly down towards the earth. Look towards the sky. Exhale. Rolling up through the back. Press the hands into the earth. Inhale. Belly down. Exhale. Roll through the back. And then coming back to a seated space into our Sukhasana, which is where we started this little mini hip opening series today. So I want you to see now, as you sit here, just bring the hands to Universal Mudra in the front of the body. Draw the belly in towards the spine. Lift the chest slightly. Draw the chin down towards the chest. Again, the ankles are crossed, so not the knee, you're not jamming the knees over one another. So you're feeling that sense of a little bit of openness. Close down the eyes here and just see if you can sit back into the hips and feel the difference between when you sat here when we first started practice and as you sit here now. Draw the chin towards the chest, draw the crown of the head up towards the sky, feeling the sit bones grounded and connected to the earth. Take a few inhale and exhale breaths. And think back to the intention that you set yourself for practice this morning. I let go of what no longer serves me to move forward with joy and happiness. I invite you to sit here for as long as you can, enjoying this space and maybe even feeling the prana moving through the body as you connect the sit bones down to the earth, draw the crown of the head up towards the sky, and feeling that openness that wasn't there in the hips before, and just being happy with yourself that you've taken a time out just to do a little bit of work on the self today. Stay for as long as you like in this meditation space. And when you're ready, you can open the eyes and rejoin the world. Thank you for practicing this morning.